A new study by the Center for Economic Research has put forward data showing that the demographics behind those who receive minimum wage have greatly changed. The demographics have changed a great deal, and thus the needs of minimum wage have changed as well. Traditionally, those who worked minimum wage or had a low income were teenagers, students, sometimes elderly who needed a bit more income, or homemakers who were going out into the workplace. Now, these people didn't need very much given their positions. However, now it shows that all the workforce surrounding low wage jobs is actually increasing. And not only is the age of the people increasing for these minimum wage jobs, but in fact, the skill level that people doing minimum wage jobs is also increasing as well. There are more higher skilled people that are ending up in minimum wage jobs. The market says that better educated workers will be paid more because they will have skills that less educated workers do not have. This is not seemingly the case anymore. We can see that people are earning a minimum wage now are older and more skilled than they were when the minimum wage was introduced, even since 1979. The market is not providing that incentive to individuals to increase the skill levels by promising great pay. It appears that this trend of lower pay will increase and absorb even older and higher skilled workers. This is a promise made by apologists of capitalism, that we need to have such a wage difference in order to incentivize people to get these higher skills. Yet we can clearly see that this is not the case. So in the future, what we should see is less people seeking a higher education, greater skills correspondingly. Now, however, it's important to note that in a lot of countries like Cuba or North Korea, the ratio of skilled to unskilled labor is actually smaller. There are more skilled laborers. There are less unskilled workers in comparison to skilled laborers. I believe in Cuba the gap remained pretty short. It was fairly close at one time that per capita there are more skilled workers in the socialist countries like Cuba and North Korea. Now, this has a lot to do with the different values that actually exist in the society. When we look at other countries like the DPRK or Cuba, we see a much greater percentage of the population that has skills. It has a greater skilled population, yet there is less in material incentive to actually do so. For example, in Cuba, a doctor can make the same amount of money that a bartender would at a resort if he keeps the tips. Yet the medical schools are filled every year with students wanting to learn medicine, not just from Cuba, but from around the world too. Their medical schools are renowned. There's a completely different cultural value when it comes to that. The idea that people won't get an education unless they're going to get money for it is completely untrue. We have seen that change all throughout history. One needs to look no further than even the social democratic Western Europe, where the gap between the rich and the poor is much, much smaller. And yet their educational institutions, their higher educational institutions are full every single year, and people still want to get an education. So what we are definitely seeing is a trend in the US where higher skilled people that are now older, that were traditionally not on minimum wage jobs, are now there because of the economy that exists. And this is not just because of the recession, but because of the entire, the last, couple decades. This has been a trend that's been increasing. And this idea that there must be a material incentive to go to school is absolutely incorrect.